Hi, welcome to the Whitey White Guy Show. I'm Whitey, and today I'm going to review the film Flight that came out in 2012, starring Denzel Washington and Don Cheadle. This is directed by Robert Zemeckis and written by Josh Gattens. It's a really, really good film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you checking out this film. Denzel Washington plays a airline pilot named Whip Whittaker, and at the beginning of the film, he's in a hotel room with one of the flight attendants, and they've been drinking. He drinks a lot of vodka, gets pretty drunk, and then he uses cocaine to level him out to be ready for the flight the next day, or that day rather. And then during the flight, everything is going fine, and then you hear this metallic bang. Suddenly, the plane starts nosediving really hard. So what he does was how to do this visually? He inverts the plane. So he's now flying. He's flying upside down like this, so that instead of nosing down, it's staying level. And then he brings it back around as the engines lose power. He's able to glide for a while, and then land the plane in a field. But it's a very violent crash, and so 6 people are killed, including the 2 flight attendants. And then he wakes up in the hospital room. NTSB. What's the guy's name? Bruce Greenwood plays Charlie Anderson, who was old acquaintances of his that were pilots together in the Navy. They're older guys now. Bruce Greenwood's character is the representative for the airline or the pilots for the union, and he tells them a bit of what's going on. Then the NTSB comes in, and there's going to be an investigation on why the crash happened, which is what the NTSB does. They do investigations on airplane crashes. A little later, you're introduced to Don Cheadle's character, who is the lawyer for the pilots union. And basically, they did a toxicology and found out that he had vodka in his system. He had like a 2 point something blood alcohol level and cocaine in his system. But if you're following this from the audience standpoint, this is not his fault. And in fact, he pulled off a complete miracle that saved 96 lives. So as a professional, he's just a phenomenal pilot who just saved 96 people's lives who would have died in any other circumstance. And it was the plane that broke, not his fault. However, everybody else is looking at that toxicology report going, you're going to jail, buddy, for being drunk while flying a plane and on coke. And so from there, the investigation is going on. And as the story progresses, you find out more and more about his life. He's been divorced. He's got a 15-year-old son he hardly knows. He's burned every kind of bridge there is. John Goodman plays his drug dealer, basically, who's like ecstatic because one of his customers is now a national hero for saving all those people. It's all over the news. But everything about that, pains Denzel Washington, because he's like, I'm an alcoholic, and he's coming to grips with that. And then there's this interesting theme of God versus our choice, like your decisions versus fate, and who's responsible for these type of things. So at one point he's in the hospital. He goes into the sterile to get smoke, and there's a cancer patient there talking about God gave me cancer. But it's this really interesting story because he's a pilot who just saved 96 people's lives. There's no debating this. What he did was amazing. But as a person, he's a scumbag. And so at one point, him and the stewardess begin to start again. They're doing coke. They're drinking vodka. Very stupid, very selfish thing to do before you get on a plane with 101 other people. And then the next person he sees is the head stewardess, who's a very religious person, saying, I'm saving a seat for you in church. And so there, the co-pilot is very Jesus freaky kind of guy, like a Mormon-y kind of guy. And so you have the sinners and the saints. And he's a sinner, but they're all alive because of him. They owe him his life. It's like, what do you do with that? Like, you're a scumbag. You're also a hero. So it's really, really interesting story. It's loosely based on something that actually happened, but that flight, no one survived. Pilot did try to fly inverted, trying to save the plane, but didn't. It was years back, so it's loosely based on that. But this is a really well-directed film. It looks fantastic. There's a few CG things you kind of notice, but how else do you do a plane crash? You're not actually gonna crash a plane for a film. Um, but a fantastic looking film, great cast, great performances. Again, just a very philosophical film in a way, about the nature of man. And, you can be a selfish, self centered asshole, which he is, unquestionably, and yet he saved all these people's lives. And then he meets this lady who's, I think her mom died of cancer, and through the pain of that, she got into drugs. He wants to get clean and sober. He's struggling, he can't. She wants to get cleaned up. She's struggling, she can't. They meet each other at the hospital, and then he goes by her house to see her, and her landlord's basically roughing her up a little bit and is really mistreating her. Like, come down to my house and do me sexual favors for rent. And then Denzel Washington steps in and slaps the crap out of that guy and gets her out of that situation. So again, that's a very good thing to do. He's drunk while he's doing it. He's drinking beers as he's driving down the street. So it's like, you save these people on a plane. You just saved her from that scumbag. You're drunk as you're driving down the road after the plane crash, and it's just like, so really interesting story about navigating the minutia of morality, really. But again, fantastic film, fantastic looking film. Um, Great cast. Denzel Washington's on fire here. Absolutely electric. Don Cheadle, as always, is really solid. He's got a little more of a subdued role, but still does a great job with it. Bruce Greenwood. I mean, it's everybody, and some very talented, venerable actors out in front on this one. Solid supporting cast. There's really the one qualm I have with this film is the little bit I know. I'm not a pilot, not a mechanic. The little bit I know about aviation is that and this is when they get to the end of the film, is that it wasn't his fault, but I forget what it's called, but there's like a wire that connects your aileron when you're flying to the back of the plane. That's the tail. And so when this wire was damaged here, it's like more like a steel cord that froze that into a locked position. That you lower that down to go down, it levels out to go level. It goes, I imagine, this way to get you up. So when this thing snapped, this metal, thick, dense metal, I forget what it's called, when it snapped or was damaged, that the tail got stuck in this position, which makes you go down. It was not his fault. But with all these pilots and NTSB, this is what they do all the time. It's like, they should have all came to that conclusion immediately. And then by the time Denzel Washington's out of the hospital and the NTSB is involved and the lawyer and the other pilot played by Bruce Greenwood, it's like, you should all know that. I know that. I could have told you what happened before the plane crashed and why it crashed. So instead, I don't remember the exact timeline, but it's weeks to months of all this drama playing out with the investigation and everything. It's like, how did you not all come to that conclusion immediately? And so there's Denzel Washington is meeting with Bruce Greenwood, who again is the union rep and then the union lawyer, and it's like, and so Don Cheadle brings up pilot error, and it's like, no. Listen to the black box. Look at the information of the whatever it's called. Like, it should have been evident to everybody immediately. That's what happened. This thing snapped, and it locked the tail flap into that position. That's why they couldn't went into nosedives when they couldn't get out of it. If it was pilot error, the co-pilot is sitting right there, sober as a bird. It just would have been. It's like, no, the whole premise is based around. It's like, nah, everybody would have known that immediately. None of this would have happened. But for a film, it makes a really good movie. It makes really good drama. So, Flight, that came out in 2012 with Denzel Washington. Go check out this film. You'll thank yourself for it. So, the Whitey White Guy Show. I'm Whitey. If you like this video, like, subscribe, all that stuff. I got other reviews. Go check those out. And I'm really just trying to drag this out for 7 more seconds to get to 10 minutes. How's your day going? Are you doing well? I'm glad to hear that. Okay, we're at 10 minutes. You have a nice day. See you on the next video. Cheers.